So I wonder if I told you that I went to Woodstock. I did. It was amazing. It was incredible. Some of you did not have that opportunity. Some of you would never go. Some of you would love for it to happen again, to have that many incredible bands playing in one place. So the fact that I just told you that sort of makes me special. But it makes me firsthand in terms of what it was really like. And so if there's questions, you'd come up and I would be able to tell you some things, sort of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so you don't tell everything. But I was there, and I experienced it, and I felt it, and I saw it, and it was amazing. But now, here we go again. We just went through Easter season. How many Easter seasons have you been through? How many times have you heard this story? And then the Ascension happened just 10 days ago in the church calendar. Jesus goes up and ascends, and it's like, now that's different. First of all, the whole resurrection thing was really different. And now there's an ascension. That's really different. And now we get to a place long ago where 120 people, I don't know how many people are here, but imagine 120 people were gathered in this room. And we've come because it's the Jewish festival of Pentecost, where thousands and thousands of people gather to celebrate. So everybody was there, but inside this one building were 120 people. And I really can't describe it to you. I can't do it justice. Just imagine, put on your Steven Spielberg cap imagination. There was a violent wind, but you couldn't feel the wind. You could just hear this roar that came and filled this space right now. And on top of that, all of a sudden, can you imagine us? We're sitting here. Look at you. Look around at all of you. You're just sitting so nicely like church people do. Just listening politely, hoping I'll say something of worth. So you're sitting like this, and all of a sudden, this incredible sound fills this place. Your expressions would change. I would watch you, and you would have this look of horror or fear. And then on top of that, you get this incredible, I always forget I'm supposed to be advancing these pictures. You get this incredible picture of flames as tongues of fire that are settling over all the people. But these flames, they don't burn them. So you've got this loud wind, you've got this fire that's filling this place, and you're thinking, as I would think, folks, it's time to get out of here. And that's probably what we would do, right? That's what I would do. Like there's an earthquake coming, like the building's going to burn down, we're bolting. But they stayed in one place for a reason. And then something really unusual happened. And I don't understand this. We're talking about a group of people speaking multiple languages. And yet, when people are speaking, they're understanding. So all of a sudden, I'm speaking to you Chinese, which will never happen. But you're understanding, because you don't speak Chinese. Or all of a sudden, you're speaking German. And you don't have a proclivity to languages, but you understand that. And it's like, this is really weird. Sort of like you were saying about the dancing, thinking, that's really weird. But they didn't leave. I don't understand. the whole language thing. I don't understand the whole different things sometimes. I want to ask Noelle just for a minute. Noelle, Noelle and Sean spent time in Tanzania, far, far away. And she had an experience. I wasn't there firsthand, but she was, so I thought we'd get firsthand. Just tell me what happened.
Sure. Before I went to Tanzania, I learned a little bit of Swahili, the national language, but when I got there, we were in a small part which had 45 mother tongues, and of course, none of them spoke Swahili, which I knew very little, kidogo of that. And I found myself going to church, sitting in a church that we would sit down and listen and not understand anything. So I decided to go to a Pentecostal church because they were speaking through the Spirit, and they were speaking through movement and praise. And when I got there, at one point in the service, everyone started speaking in tongues. And as you can tell just a little bit, I'm pretty out there anyways. So I went for it. I went for it. And it was amazing. And really what it was kind of just speaking gibberish, but the connection to God was so cathartic and emotional because I wasn't forced to use language. I could use words and emotions and movements that made the correct connection to me more direct. And so I certainly don't go to a Pentecostal church in California. It's not my thing, but I really, it was just beautiful. And the congregation welcomed me as a stranger and somebody totally different than them. And it was beautiful. So anyhow, that was my experience.
Thank you. One woman wrote, as the Holy Spirit fell on the disciples looking at Pentecost, the barriers of language and culture were broken down. Not so that everyone thought and looked the same, but so that everyone understood each other in their own language and culture. In God's new kingdom culture, we don't become an amorphous lump or a homogeneity, but learn to appreciate and respect our differences. So, in that moment, people were not afraid, and they had every right to be afraid. In that moment, they were mystified in terms of what's going on with this gibberish. And yet they stayed in that place because just like the music from The Lion King that says, He lives in you, that God lives in you. Do you remember before Jesus left in the Gospel of John, he said, I'm not going to leave you alone. I will come back. I will send you a counselor, a comforter, a teacher. I will be a presence in your life. I will give you joy and understanding. I will be the Prince of Peace when I am gone. And just as it was prophesied so long ago, it happened. They didn't leave because the Spirit was in them and filled them, and there was no fear. There was only this joy, so that I'm sure people were laughing and people were crying because they were so overcome. It's like, this is what Jesus was talking about when he said, I'm going to send you. This is what Jesus meant when he said, I will never leave you, even though he ascended and left me. The Spirit is here. And the images were unmistakable. And the impact of that day is the impact that you notice here in this place. Jesus prayed one thing, that all may be one. And I'm going to make it really simple for you, Jesus said. I want you to love one another. When they look different and they sound different, when they act different, I want you to love them. I want you to be one. Which is why the United Church of Christ motto is that all may be one. Now that's really difficult. That's difficult because someone like David and I, who grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, and you have also, some of you, we're used to a certain way of doing things. And we were taught from an early formative age how we should think and act and believe. Some of you sitting in the pew have come from a very conservative, traditional, literal model of what you're supposed to think and believe and say and do. Some of you sitting here don't have that background. You don't have that baggage. And you're still asking questions. And God may be defined a different way for you. And the Holy Spirit is like, what? I'm not sure what you're talking about. But the thing is about this place, in the short time that I've been here, it's like the lion can lie down with a lamb, and all can be well. The liberal can be with a conservative, and it's okay. It ruffles my feathers a little bit sometimes, but when I'm willing to listen, when I am patient, when I am non-judgmental, when I have that beginner's mind and I really want to understand someone else and not think that I've got all the answers for you, then the impact of Pentecost is living out in KCC this morning. It is in this moment. It is in this place. God with us and in us. That is the Holy Spirit. As you know, spirit, the Greek word pneuma, means breath. So let me take your breath away from you permanently. I'm going to be really busy with funerals if that happens. Breath is who you are. It's a part of you. It's your life. And the holy means set apart, different, unusual, creative, energizing. That breath is placed in you, which is why they all didn't run away when they saw all this strange stuff happening. But they stayed because they felt a presence. My hope is always that when we sing that song, there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. That we would sense that spirit, that we would feel that presence. As an individual who's going through some difficult times, that you would feel that compassionate, comforting touch deep inside of you. I don't have all the answers, and the person sitting next to you doesn't have all the answers. When we breathe deeply and we allow ourselves to listen, the Spirit of God is there. In the book of Ephesians, it says, don't be drunk with wine. Be filled with the Spirit. Don't mess with that old wine. Try the new wine. Allow yourself to experience something that is so different and so unusual. And yes, it may not be as dramatic as what Noel and Sean experienced in Tanzania in a Pentecostal church. But when you leave this place, and tomorrow when you're somewhere, you take a deep breath, realize that it's time. It's the time to drink something new, something different.